Dipscorling, it's our time. Let's make discoveries word by word, line by line. Welcome to Dipscorling, let's dive in. Corpus linguistics, where we all
Hello, Joyce. Can you hear me all right?
Hi. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you for being here on weekend. Yeah. So the final
Yeah, no
day
problem.
of the schooling 2024. Can we have the screen share turn on? Yeah, please turn off the screen sharing. Joyce, can you try sharing your screen? So we're
Yeah.
going to try to see if it is broadcasting all right.
Okay, so this is what I have. Can you see this
Okay.
okay from the, is this okay?
Mhm. Okay.
You see it? Okay.
Yeah. Right. So we have informed the participants. Two other participants, they didn't reply or does not wish to present. So you can just go straight with the feedback later.
Feedback.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
no problem.
And we have arranged the presentation schedule, and the host will help you with
Okay.
organizing with the feedback session.
Are they already in order? Or is that sort of up to me?
Um, they are already in order. So we have
Okay.
organized in a way so that um, participants who wish to present, they will be prioritized. So they will be in the earlier order. So we
Okay.
have
So do
four.
we know the order of the
Yes.
presentations?
Yes, I'm going to send you on the chat.
Okay, cool.
Bear with me.
Yeah, no problem. And then I can rearrange some of my slides.
Bear with me. So let's take it to the chat. There you go.
Awesome. Okay, cool. All right, so some of the proposals are pretty short. So for those that do present, I would be able to say a lot more.
Mhm.
But for the two participants, who are not gonna present, I'm just gonna go off of what they've given me. One of them is good enough, long enough, I could think, but the other one's pretty short. So I
Yeah.
can make some quick comments, and if they're there, they can take notes, if that's okay.
Yeah, we have informed the participants that you may finish earlier. And if you finish earlier, people on the next turn, they should be ready. So you don't have to spend exactly like 20 minutes. Like
Okay.
if they
Yeah.
think that, okay, we have enough, or if you think that we have enough, then
Mm-hmm.
we can move on to the next participant.
Yeah. I was also thinking though, because with some of the participants, because their proposal was quite short, so if
Mhm.
they've prepared a presentation, that's good. But if they don't have much to say because it's too early on in their research, which I think is perfectly fine, what I thought would be nice is just to kind of open up the floor for the rest of
Yes.
us,
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
Q&A
that's
session
good.
if we have
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Would
yeah,
that
I
be
agree.
okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's good. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, just to kind of
Okay.
get everyone in the room sort of involved if they wish to.
Yeah. Okay, so we are going to play the promotional videos and we are going to start at 1500. Sorry, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
cool. Yeah, I'll get started then. Thank you.
Welcome to Dipscorling, let's dive in. Corpus linguistics, welcome to Dipscorling, let's dive in. Corpus linguistics, where we all begin. Summer course knowledge to explore, unlocking language and so much more. Dipscorling 2024. Together we learn, together we soar. From vision to insights, join the ride. In a world of words, let's take a stride. Dipscorling, it's our time. Let's make discoveries word by word, line by line. Welcome to Dipscorling, let's dive.
Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and participants from around the globe. Good morning and welcome to the Dipscorling Summer Course on Corpus Linguistics, Dipscorling 2024. We are thrilled to have you join us for this exciting and enriching event. This summer course offers a unique opportunity for scholars, researchers, and students to delve into the fascinating world of corpus linguistics. Dipscorling 2024 features an exceptional lineup of keynote speakers, each a luminary in the field of corpus linguistics. We are honoured to welcome Dr. Joyce Lim from Aston University, UK. Dr. Lim's groundbreaking work in discourse analysis and corpus linguistics has significantly advanced our understanding of language use in various contexts. Her insights and research contributions are invaluable to our community. Dr. Niall Curry from Manchester Metropolitan University, UK. Dr. Curry's expertise in language teaching and learning, combined with his innovative approach to corpus-based research, has made substantial impacts on the field. We eagerly anticipate his perspectives on the latest trends and applications in corpus linguistics. Yede Primahadi Wijaya Rajek, PhD from Oxford University, UK, and Udayana University, Indonesia. Dr. Primahadi's interdisciplinary research, bridging cognitive linguistics and corpus studies, offers a profound understanding of language patterns and cognitive processes. His work is a testament to the power of corpus linguistics in unraveling the complexities of human language. Prihantoro, PhD from Diponegoro University, Indonesia. As a prominent figure in the Indonesian linguistic community, Dr. Prihantoro's research on Indonesian language corpora and sociolinguistics provides crucial insights into language variation and use in Indonesia. His contributions have been instrumental in advancing corpus-based studies in the region. This year's summer course has attracted more than 100 participants from diverse corners of the world, including the UK, USA, Egypt, China, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Philippines, Poland, and many more. This international representation underscores the global relevance and appeal of corpus linguistics. Your presence here is a testament to the vibrant and dynamic nature of our field. Throughout the course, you will engage in workshops, lectures, and collaborative projects designed to deepen your understanding and application of corpus linguistic methods. Our goal is to create an environment that fosters learning, innovation, and collaboration, paving the way for new discoveries and advancements in our field. We are confident that Dipscorling 2024 will be a memorable and transformative experience for all participants. We encourage you to take full advantage of the opportunities presented, network with fellow participants and speakers, and immerse yourself in the stimulating academic atmosphere. Once again, welcome to Dipscorling 2024. Let us embark on this journey of exploration and discovery together. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and participants from around the globe, good morning and welcome to the Diponegoro Summer Course on Corpus Linguistics, Dipscorling 2024. We are thrilled to have you join us for this exciting and enriching event. This summer course offers a unique opportunity for scholars, researchers, and students to delve into the fascinating world of corpus linguistics. Dipscorling 2024 features an exceptional lineup of keynote speakers, each a luminary in the field of corpus linguistics. we are honoured to welcome Dr. Joyce Lim from Aston University, UK. Dr. Lim's groundbreaking work in discourse analysis and corpus linguistics has significantly advanced our understanding of language use in various contexts. Her insights and research contributions are invaluable to our community. Dr. Niall Curry from Manchester Metropolitan University, UK. Dr. Curry's expertise in language teaching and learning, combined with his innovative approach to corpus-based research, has made substantial impacts on the field. We eagerly anticipate his perspectives on the latest trends and applications in corpus linguistics. Yede Primahadi Wijaya Rajek, PhD from Oxford University, UK, and Udayana University, Indonesia. Dr. Primahadi's interdisciplinary research, bridging cognitive linguistics and corpus studies, offers a profound understanding of language patterns and cognitive processes. His work is a testament to the power of corpus linguistics in unraveling the complexities of human language. Prihantoro, PhD from Diponegoro University, Indonesia. As a prominent figure in the Indonesian linguistic community, Dr. Prihantoro's research on Indonesian language corpora and sociolinguistics provides crucial insights into language variation and use in Indonesia. His contributions have been instrumental in advancing corpus-based studies in the region. This year's summer course has attracted more than 100 participants from diverse corners of the world.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dipscorling 2024. My name is Rani.
And I'm Arin.
And we will be your hosts for today's session. We're finally on the last day of summer course 2024, and it has been an enjoyable and insightful journey. Thank you very much, everyone, for your enthusiasm from day 1 until now, day 6. Today, we will have another engaging session and then followed by a closing remark.
On today's session, we are excited to introduce a new feature in this year's Dipscorling, the Idea Panel session. And in this session, selected participants will present their research plans and receive live feedback from our esteemed instructor, Dr. Joyce Lim from Aston University, United Kingdom.
Dr. Lim's expertise will provide valuable insight to help refine and enhance these research ideas. We hope that this session will be both enlightening and also inspiring for all participants. Before we start our session for today, let's greet Dr. Lim first. So, Dr. Lim, how are you today?
Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Before we hand over the session to you, Dr. Lim, allow me to read your CV. Dr. Joyce Lim, everyone, is a lecturer in English Language and Applied Linguistics at the College of Business and Social Sciences, Aston University. She holds a BA in English Literature from the University of California, San Diego, an MA in English Education from Rangel University of Foreign Studies, and a PhD in Education from the University of Cambridge. Her research interests focus on second language education and corpus linguistics, particularly the use of learner corpora to explore language patterns and classroom applications. And she is the co-director of the Aston Corpus Linguistics Research Group and oversees doctoral research in areas such as CALL and L2 writing development.
Okay, so if you want to know more about her, you can actually consult her CV or contact her via emails. And now I will hand over the session to Dr. Joyce Lim. So, Dr. Joyce Lim, time is yours.
Thank you so much for the really nice introduction. Bear with me while I share my screen. Okay, so today I started the first session and then I'm ending with the last session for the summer school. So thank you so much for the invite again. So this panel is going to consist of sort of a 5-minute presentation from 4 of the participants, followed by 10 to 15 minute feedback for each of the 4 participants. And then we have 2 research proposals, which will just sort of involve some feedback. For the presenters, they will be giving everyone sort of a background information about the research. So hopefully that would be enough for all the participants here to follow along. And then for the two research proposals, I did sort of copy and paste the abstract, which we'll look at together. Then I'll be giving sort of some of the positive aspects of the research proposal, and then also some thought-provoking questions, comments, and things to consider to sort of evolve the research proposal. And then if we have time, I will be taking some questions from all the participants, not just about the proposals today, but just about, say, corpus linguistics in general, or any of the sessions during the summer school. Okay, so I did get the list of the participants, which I have on my screen. So again, each of the 4 participants will give a 5-minute presentation, and then after their presentation, I will be giving sort of a feedback, and then we'll move on to the following presenter. So thank you again to the following individuals for agreeing to share their research proposals: Ling Feng, Fitriot Toots, Narina, Teresa, Dean, and Sophie. So we'll begin with our first presenter. So we have Ling Feng, whose title of the research proposal is Corpus-Based 3-Level Contrastive Frame Analysis of Olympic Coverage from Mainstream English Media, a case study of Tokyo 2020 and Beijing 2022. So Ling Feng, if you're here, I will be handing over to you, and then I'll stop sharing my screen. So in case you have something to share, you can do so.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Joyce Lim. So for the next one, we're going to have the idea panel presentation session for about 5 minutes presentation from the participants, and also 15 minutes feedbacks from the Dr. Joyce Lim, just like what Dr. Joyce Lim said previously.
Yes, and if we still have time after that, we'll also have a Q&A session a little bit for each participants. And some participants actually chose not to present, so you'll have the whole time for feedback. So for now, Ms. Chen, we can see your screen well already, so you may start anytime you're ready. Your time is 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity for me to present at the panel. I will briefly introduce one of my graduate paper. First, we'll see the research background. We know that the Olympics are the pinnacles of international athletic competitions, which has received extensive media exposure and can exert massive cultural influence all over the globe. But sometimes we have ignored that the news tests about Olympics are filled with ideology output. Hence, we choose the 4 media outlets here: the New York Times, the Guardian, China Daily, and CGTN, with the reasons listed here. China Daily and CGTN are both Chinese English language state-owned news outlets, but with China Daily more from offers like news more from a Chinese standpoint, while CGTN more from a diverse and international viewpoint. Then we'll briefly talk about the framing theory. A frame can be both a cognitive framework and the process of framing. According to the framing theory, it's about the way a message is framed can shape an individual's attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors. It has been developed for over 70 years and with its extension to a lot of fields listed here. And based on the framing theory, we can see the main methodology of the paper. Frame analysis is a subvariant of discourse analysis, according to Linenfeld, with a narrow analytical scope and an explicit causal orientation. Here are some prevalent paradigms. Then after the literature search, we have found that frame analysis of Olympic coverage are underdeveloped. So this is the topic of the thesis. Then we move on to methodology. It's about 3-level framing theory. It's devised by Zhang Guoren. Actually, it's originally a Chinese version, but I have translated it in English. On the microstructure, it's about the semantic analysis. It's about the central organizing idea, according to Goffman. And on the intermediate level, it's about 7 constituents, about the organization of these constituents. Actually, it's condensed version of Benedict's new schema as is shown here. And on the bottom is microstructure. It's about this linguistic and semiotic level. And on the top level, it's about themes. And we mainly refer to Tankard list of frames, as is listed here, which consists of 11 framing mechanisms for identify frame, and they can act as the major checking points for general themes. We use the keyword search of Olympic by random sampling and collected the data into ANCOG to form 8 mini corpora, which allows to conduct research on with frequency words, word cluster, calculus, and concordance lines. The tokens varied, but all of them are above 10,000 each, and it will exert little influence on the data analysis because we mainly focus on the percentage instead of the exact number. And then with the corpus authenticity examination, we use Jeffy, the visualizing tool, and selected top 10 high-frequency nouns from each corpus, and we find that the data are all relevant. Then we move on to data analysis. On the microstructure, we found there are altogether, the research question are, what are the differences in framing strategies of the 4 selected media outlets in themes of in terms of theme, content, or language, or any other aspects? And the second one is, what are the possible reasons behind these? Do they imply certain ideology? Back to the 9 prevalent frames as listed here. We found that social effect of the Olympic Games frame and Olympic story frames, they reserve much room for negative information. And the New York Times and the Guardian concentrated on these 2 frames. And also from the high frequency word list, we found that there is a set in every top 10, which is the indicator of direct or indirect quotations. And it also means assessment, 1 of 7 constituents, dominated the whole content organization for most news tests. And take a further look into this, we found that most of them are about participant experience sharing or about institutions or organization statement. We have found that there is obviously disparity in tones and angles and over politicized angles from the New York Times report. We found that the New York Times, when reporting on Tokyo 2020, it used more like positive words. And when it comes to Beijing 2022, it focused on the government and political parties. And from the frequency list, we also found that for each media outlet, they focus on the hosting country and the country they come from. So we use Chinese and Japanese separately to search word clusters and calicates. And also we have found the frequently mentioning of Valieva and Gu in the concordance lines of set. So we conducted further research here about the sexual assault by the New York Times. You frequently mention sexual assault. We have found that it happened in 2021 prior to Beijing 2022. And it's about the questioning of IOC statement, which may not be directly relevant to the event, and about Valieva's positive drug test and Gu's dual nationality. We have found that the whole Valieva's test issue that ended on February, the 15th of February, but it has been frequently mentioned after this date, along with the intensifying Russian-Ukraine dispute. And for the dual nationality, we can see phrases like 2 countries and 2 cultures, and caught in the middle between nationalism and dual nationals, normally accompanied Gu, which, however, should not be the focus. It's very unprofessional, and it's a non-commonsensical defiance of Chinese law, because the Article 3 of Chinese nationality law holds that country will not admit the dual nationality of a Chinese citizen. And that's the main conclusion. Then we move on to limitation to directions. I think for further research, we have to consider sources from more news outlets. And the tokens of quantity, they are varied, but we think they should be keep within certain limits. And also, news nowadays are presented in different dimensions via different technologies. So we think maybe for the following study, we can use multimodal analysis. That's all. Thank you.
Awesome. So much, Ling Feng, for such a quick but a very tangible presentation. So a lot of the feedback that I prepared is based on your research proposal rather than your presentation today. And feel free to chime in to specify any of the questions that I have. So first of all, I thought this was a really interesting study comparing sort of the linguistic differences between Tokyo 2020 and Beijing 2022. And you did find that there were really prominent differences in terms of, you've sort of labeled the positive and the negative, but also, in the Beijing sort of Olympic articles, you found more terms related to the government and politics as opposed to Tokyo 2020. Collecting data, it seems like you've already collected a large sum of the data. It should be relatively easy and straightforward because you're just kind of scraping news articles, right? And then information around constructing the corpus was just phenomenal. So I did really enjoy that. I did see some really interesting findings around sort of the social effects of the Olympic Games frame and then the Olympic story frame. So again, really interesting study. I do sort of hope to see some of your findings published in the future. I'd love to read more. Just some questions and things to consider, thought-provoking questions. So the first question that came up to my mind when I read your proposal was, what would be the rationale for comparing Tokyo 2020 and Beijing 2022? Is it because they're two sort of the most recent Olympic Games? Or is it, is there sort of a political or cultural kind of a motivation behind it? So, if you were to write this into a journal article, I would clarify the rationale sort of for comparing these two Olympics. I did have a question about framing techniques and strategies, but you did a really good job explaining that in your presentation. So the question that I had was, how will you find this information, right? And what are the three framing levels? But you did explain that really well, the micro, the meso, and the macro. Reporting strategies in terms of theme, content, language, angle, and tone in a more systematic, comprehensive, and objective, and then provide certain suggestions for enhancing the narrative capacity of Chinese English language media and Western-dominated journalism, and enhance their newsworthiness in the future sporting news text. So this was from your proposal, which took me a while to understand at first instance. And I also wanted to sort of ask, right, how will you gather all of this information, right? Specifically in terms of the tone and the angle, right? How would you gather this from a corpus? Would you be able to clarify that for us?
Yes. The first question is I'm sorry, I forgot the first question.
Yeah, so I sort of wonder, right? How would you gather tone, for example, from a corpus of news articles, right? Does that clarify my question? So if you were
Yes,
to look for tone, how would you approach that?
I mainly refer to the concordance line of SAT and corpus, and I found the adjectives, and I compared these adjectives and found that some of them are more negative and some of them are more positive.
Okay, so it's more of a positive and negative. So this is more sort of has more to do with your own intuition than actual sort of factual information, right? So if you look at a list of adjectives, for example, right?
Mhm.
What sort of strategy did you use to categorize them into being more positive or skewing more towards a negative tone? So how did you go about making that decision?
I think it's more intuition based.
It's more intuition based.
There's
That's absolutely fine. I think you have some good rationale there by using the corpus to gather the information, right? Yeah, I just wanted to sort of clarify how you would go about gathering tone from just the corpus. So that's a good strategy, right? When you search around certain words, so for example, said, right, in reported speech, right? And then you sort of gather what sort of adjectives surround that word, right? So did you did you use engrams or what did you use? So you searched for sad, right? And then how did
Yeah.
you go from there to gathering all of those adjectives?
Actually I just read every line of the concordance line.
Ooh, okay. So how long did that take you?
It takes me like 2 weeks, I think.
Okay, took you a long time. Okay, so this was a major project for you, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm happy to send these questions to you after the session. Um, but I just want to end on one note here. So you did mention longitudinal contrastive frame analysis, right?
Yes.
So the word longitudinal is pretty sensitive in corpus linguistics, right? When you say longitudinal, we assume things to be more of a longer span of time. But it seems
Yeah.
like your data is only within a span of 1 month, right? So
Oh,
within a month.
here longitudinal means the same Olympic event, but the two different. Like one is in 2020, one is in 2022.
Right, but that's not longitudinal, right? Because they're two separate events.
Yes, but I think they're all the Olympics.
Okay, yeah. It's up to you, right? But then I would just be wary of how you frame longitudinal because when you say longitudinal, we sort of assume a span of a period of time, right? So here there are two separate events, right? The Tokyo 2020
Yes.
and Beijing 2022 in a sense are two very separate events. So in a way, when we frame these two events as longitudinal, it seems like there's an Olympics every single day, sort of leading up to 2022 from 2020, right?
Yes, I
Um,
got.
yeah, obviously with sort of these wordings, it's up to you as to how you use it. But I would just be really careful about using the word longitudinal because from what sort of I can tell, um, it's sort of arguable that they're not complete 100% longitudinal, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I think we are out of time, so I have to move on. But thank you so much again for such a great presentation and also for sending in your research proposal. I hope my feedback was helpful. Um, and if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to email me. I'd be more than happy to send in more feedback. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Lin.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Joyce Lim, and also Ling Feng Chen, for the amazing presentation. We actually still have just a few more minutes. So, Ling Feng Chen, if you still have some questions to ask Joyce Lim regarding your research, you can ask.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I wasn't aware that with more time. But Ling Feng, if you have any questions for me, any of the sort of thought-provoking questions I threw at you, you're more than welcome to follow up or ask any sort of related questions.
Um, um, maybe there is one question because the tokens are varied, and I'm always wondering whether there is a standard for the tokens for the a
Oh, you mean
standardized
between
corpus.
the eight the subcorpora, right? Is that what you're talking about? Between
Yes.
the mini corpora. Yeah, so you're never gonna find two corpora that are exactly the same in terms of tokens and words and etc., right? They're always gonna be different, right? So you would need to normalize your findings to be able to say something about the differences, right? So you can normalize it typically to 1 million words. So tokens per 1 million words. And if you're not familiar with that, you can search, and if you can't, let me know. I'm more than happy to help out. But what essentially it does is you calculate each of your say the tokens, for example, and then you normalize it to 1 million words. So then regardless of the number of tokens in each of the corpus, you can normalize it to say, this word occurs 15 times per 1 million words, right? So you can sort of downsize it to per 10,000 words or 1,000 words, depending on the size of your corpus. But what essentially that does is then you can say how many times a certain word. So for example, in your case, the word said, right? How many times the word said occurs per 1 million words in each of your corpus, and then you can compare between all of your 8 corpora to say, oh, it occurs most frequently in this corpus or corpus number 2, 3, etc. Right. So the way to go about sort of understand or being able to compare would be to normalize the frequency. So if you have a word list, right, you see the top 10 and you have the frequency, right, how many times it occurs. Those numbers, when you put it next to another corpus and then another, doesn't make any sense, right, because they're all different sizes. So a word that occurs 20 times in one corpus and that the same word that occurs 30 times in another corpus, we can't say that this word occurs more often in the second corpus because they're 2 different sizes, right? So obviously in a larger corpus, you're going to see more occurrences of the same word. So you would need to normalize. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Any other questions?
I think currently I have no other questions.
Okay, how are we doing on time? Do we have a few more minutes, or are we moving on to our next participant?
Okay, so we think we're going to go to the next presentation. So thank you so much, Ling Feng Chen, and also Dr. Joyce Lim for the presentation and also for the feedback. So for the next one, we have the Fitriyatus Zakia. So are you here?
Hello, yeah,
Okay, so
thank you.
okay. So maybe you can share your screen.
Okay, I want to try
Make sure.
to
Okay.
share my screen.
All right.
Okay, so can you see?
Yes. Sure.
Okay,
Okay, so maybe time is yours.
okay, thank you for the time. And hello, good afternoon, everyone. So, and also good afternoon, Dr. Lim. Okay, so here I would like to present about my research plan. Yeah, so this is only my research plan, and actually, I haven't do this research. So this is only the research plan. So I really need your feedback for my research. Yeah. Okay, so as we know that there are so many local language in Indonesia. So my research is focused on one of local language in Indonesia. This is about corpus-based Madurese language dictionary for elementary school. So I want to create a dictionary for Madurese language and for elementary school. Okay, so why I want to do that research? Because there is little interest among young people in learning Madurese, and there is also the decreasing number of Madurese speaker, like children, yeah, especially for children. So they prefer to speak Bahasa Indonesia with their friend and then with their family. Yeah, so that's why I want to know what is the high frequency word used in Madura's language textbook for elementary school in Madura Island. So why I want to know this because some of my friends said that their children has difficulty or got difficulty to learn Madura's language in the school because the local language is become one of the course in elementary school in Madura Island, and they feel that they got difficulty to teach their children in their home because they cannot speak Madurese. They speak Bahasa Indonesia. So that's why I want to increase the motivation for the and then the to increase the interest for the children to learn Madurese language by creating a dictionary, yes, for elementary school. And this is actually the output of this research is application of dictionary, learning dictionary, and there are so many picture and also the example of several words. So that's why I want to know the high frequency word used in Madura's language textbook for elementary school in Madura Island. So the textbook is not only one, but I will choose two textbook from the first grade until the sixth grade. So it can be representative for the elementary school. And then, of course, the goal or the aim of this research is into investigate the high frequency word used in Madura's language textbook for elementary school in order to create a corpus-based dictionary. Because there are so many dictionary, but I think the dictionary taken from I think the dictionary maker did not use corpus based. So that's why I use corpus based method to create this dictionary. So what is in my corpus? So I compile my own corpus by gathering text from various Madurese language textbook used in elementary school in Bangkalan, Madura, one of region in Madura. Then I create my own corpus using, sorry, this is, there is mistake. So it is not Ancon, but I use Lunchbox for my corpus because when I yeah there is a problem using an Ancon, so that's why I use a Lunchbox by using the following steps. So of course I use the following steps. I compile all of the text from various textbooks and then used for elementary school in my region. And then I open the lunchbox, sorry. And then I open the data and then I click the words and I get this data. So this is only the example. So I choose one textbook for the example to create my own corpus. So this is only my I take only because in the textbook there are so many like question, and then there is also reading, and then there are also instruction. So I only choose the reading text to create my own corpus, and then this is from one book, so it is only 646 words, token. And then this is the high frequency word that I found from one book, So from this finding, I can see that the verb, it's only the word ngobu here. And then the other, like bede means there is, and then the word se means like that. In English it is like that, and then the conjunction and ban is same like and, meaning the meaning of ban is and, ben it means and so on. So I can also from this from my current finding, I can also see that the sentence, like the way they use the word bede in several sentences in the data, so I can see. And this is very interesting for me to know that the word se in this context, so the meaning the word of the word se means like in, yeah, but it has several meanings, and in these sentences I can see that there are two function of the word se here. So that's why for my to develop my corpus research for this research. So of course I plan to define the data based on the part of speech. So I want to know the part of speech of the data, and then the function, the different function, and also the different meaning of every word. So that's I can create the representative dictionary for my students. And then for next research, after doing this research, I plan, sorry, that is wrong. I plan to expand my data to be junior high school and senior high school textbooks, so I can create a learning dictionary for students in Madura Island. Okay, so this is the reference. It is only two of the reference. So I'm waiting for your feedback. So because there are so many mistakes for my research. Okay, thank you. That's all from me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the presentation and also for sharing your research proposal. I had a lot of fun reading it. I thought this was a really nice initiative, putting together a corpus-based Madris language dictionary. And I mean, you're only focusing on elementary school, but you did say in your proposal that you do plan on expanding out to middle school and high school and so forth. So I'm really excited to see how this goes. So initially, sorry, did you have something to say?
No?
No, okay. Yeah, so initially my sort of the first question was why this study? So what do you aim to get out from this study? But you did put that in your presentation, so that has sort of been answered. But more sort of deeper than that, I want you to think about what use that word list would be for your students, right? So you know, is this corpus for the students for them to be able to use the corpus to understand how certain what I mean, for example, what are the most frequent words in the textbook for each of the grade level, or would it be for them to be able to use it to look at the concordance lines, for example, and to be able to use or to learn to use, so more of a data driven learning? Or is it for the teacher, for them to know what would be most useful for their students to know and understand, right? So there are a few different ways in which you would be able to use this corpus, right? So I want you to think about who it's
The user.
geared towards, and how you would be able to create this corpus so that would be most useful for either the learners or teachers or both, right? I was also wondering though, did you collect any metadata?
Pardon?
So you said that you sort of collected various textbooks, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
did you do the same for each of the grade level? Or is it
Yes.
just elementary school together?
Yeah, of course. So for elementary school, I choose two books for every grade, from the first grade until the sixth grade, and then maybe I want to create. I want to define the elementary school dictionary to be several dictionary, because there is a level, like I cannot normalize for sorry, I cannot make it same for the first grade material and then the sixth grade. So that's why maybe I will divide it into three dictionaries. So for 1 until 3, the first until third grade. So I will create to be one dictionary and then so on and so on. So maybe there are three dictionaries. So that's why I want to know how many uh high frequency word that used in every grade. So when the vocabulary has been added in the first dictionary, so of course it will not added in another dictionary. So that's why they have to open all of the dictionary based on their grades, just like that.
Yeah, I can imagine this being a huge project, right? So when you're just sort of gathering textbooks, right? Are we
Yes.
looking at different subjects, right? You could be looking at math textbooks or English textbooks or history, science, and et cetera, and et cetera, right? Did you take that into account, or what sort of is in this elementary school level
Ah,
corpus?
I see. Okay. So it is only the Madurist language textbook because in my place there is a course Madurist language for local language for the students. Yeah. So it is only the textbook for Madurist language. It is not all the
Okay.
course. Yeah. So that's
So
why
it's
it's
it's a
only
course
Madurist.
for
Yes.
Madri's language. Okay,
Yes.
yeah, so that makes
Yes.
that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so another sort of thought-provoking question. So when you decided to embark on this project, what sort of did you have in your mind? So obviously, by creating this corpus, you would have imagined it being used by your students or teachers, right? Um, what sort of things did you envision for your students or teachers to use this corpus for?
Because I think they don't have a dictionary for learning dictionary like in English. So we know that in English learning dictionaries will be different with the general English dictionary. And I found that we have a Madurist a general dictionary, but for a learner, so there is no that. So that's why I want to improve the interest and also motivation for the students to learn Madurist language, especially for their local language. Yeah, to
Mhm.
by creating a learning dictionary, so all of people come from another island like me, come from another
Mhm.
island, so I have to learn Madurist language to speak with other people there. Yeah, so that's why, because in my place there are so many people come from another island. Yeah, so they need a learning dictionary for their children. So that's why I really want to help them in learning their local language.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Another question. So
Okay.
you talked mostly about high frequently used words, right? I was wondering if you also considered word chunks, for example, collocations and n-grams, or did you only consider the high frequently used words?
Um, yes. So first, I will look for the high frequency first, and then after that, I want to know the collocation of every word. So it can be so the output of this project, of course, the dictionary, but uh, the research is not only about the high frequency. Of course, there is a branch for this research, like how many affixations used in that data, and then how many. So some word. What is the collocation of some word that the high frequency? I like the word "sir." I see. Yeah. Collocate with what word? So it is. It will what is it? It will influence the meaning of the word because
Yeah.
if it is collocated with another word, the meaning should be different. So of course, I will see the collocation also to know the meaning and also the function.
Okay, cool. And then that's also going to be available for your learners as well, right?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, one last question. You talked about motivation, which I thought was really interesting, right? Um, how do you envision this corpus being a source of motivation for the students?
Because I want to create a dictionary that's suitable for the children. Like I have to add some picture, and also I want to add some fun game in my dictionary so that they can learn this happily, and they can easy to learn several words from my dictionary. So uh, when I see yeah, I ever see a Cambridge dictionary. What is it? I forget the name. Yeah, this is for children, and I think it is very interesting to adopt that for the dictionary so that students in my place can learn that language happily, and then they can increase their motivation and also their interest in learning that language. So that
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you
okay.
for sharing.
Okay.
I think we might still have a few minutes if you have any questions for me.
Yeah, so actually my question is about is it okay? So there are so many application, like we have Ancon and also we have Lunchbox. So I think when I use both two tools, I think the result is same. So is it okay if I maybe when I after using a Lunchbox and then I want to try to use an Ancon to make sure is it to only compare, so is it okay to do that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You're more than welcome to compare across different software. So Linkbox, you can also upload onto Sketch
Yes.
Engine, or use Ancon, Linkbox, and other sort of available software. You might get a little bit of a discrepancy between different software, and that's simply because of rounding errors and just small errors. But you're not going to see a drastic difference of something being least frequent now being the most frequently used word in a different
Okay.
software. But yeah, sure, if that gives you a peace of mind and you want to compare across different corporate
Okay.
or software, that's absolutely fine as well.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And sorry, I have a question again about actually I want to ask about how many word for a dictionary.
Oh,
So is there any
uh-huh.
minimum word for a dictionary, or we can add based on my own, or is there any like something rule to create a dictionary for how
Yeah.
many words?
Yeah, really good question. So, well, unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you in that. I can't give you a solid number of how many, entries there needs to be. But you want to make sure that your dictionary is useful for your learners, right? So if you're looking at an entire glossary of different textbooks, right? And then
Okay.
in your dictionary, say you only have 10 entries, right? That's like saying if you know these 10 words and you know everything about
Okay.
Madrid. But that's not true, right? So obviously with dictionaries, you want to include every single available word there is. But obviously you're not going to be able to do that, right? I mean, you can keep adding on to it, right? But the short answer is there's no solid number, but I mean it's using your good judgment, right? If it's a language, then you would assume that the dictionary would include most of the words that's recognized in the language, right? So
Okay.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. So it gives me more insight for my dictionary. So thank you for sharing this, and thank you for your feedback. It's really useful for my research.
No problem. Thank you so much for sharing.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Vidyatas, for sharing your research plan with us. That was a very insightful session. And then after this, we'll immediately go on to the next participant who will present the research plan. Hello, Arina, are you there?
Hi, I'm here.
All right. Hello. So you may prepare your presentation right now. You have 5 minutes to present, and then Dr. Lim will give her feedback, and you may also ask your questions during the feedback. So we can see your screen clearly now?
Okay.
Yes, and you may start whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Joyce. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my plan of my research because it's not finished yet. And hopefully I can get your feedback regarding the plan. So my future plan of the research entitled War and Threat Metaphors of Climate Change in Indonesian News Discourse, a Corpus Ecolinguistic Study. So I integrated the methodology of corpus-assisted discourse studies and the theory of ecolinguistics. Okay, so the background of my research is I want to figure out how mass media frames climate change or climate crisis to public. And my future goal is to investigate the frames of climate change in the global south. But for my current work, I focus on Indonesian mass media by taking the data from news articles from 2013 to 2022. And for the current project, I plan to find out the linguistic strategy to construct the public perception of climate change through the war and threat metaphors. So this is my second project of the same corpus that I built. Previously, I already finished a paper about climate change using the same data, but focused on the legitimation strategy. But for my current research, I focus on the use of war and threat metaphors. And the corpus here is taken from the newspaper articles from two mainstream media in Indonesia. They are Detik and Kompas. I restricted the data collection from the articles published in 2013 to 2022. And to help me gather the data, I used Bootcat and I collected all the URLs of articles in both newspapers, and I collected more than 700,000 words. And this paper focused on the use of war and threat metaphors, and I used Sketch Engine for the analysis. There are two research questions. The first is how are war and threat metaphors used in the Indonesian climate change discourse? And second is which social actors are involved in the discourse that contain war and threat metaphors, and how are they assessed ecologically? And for the analytical steps, firstly, I go to the concordance and I inserted the lemma iklim or climate, and I find the collocates of the word by restricting the query from 3 left and 3 right span, and I selected the collocates that refer to war and threat metaphors. So in Indonesian, there are some different part of speech that refer to the two metaphors, such as perang, memerangi. They can be noun and verb, and also the threat metaphors can also be in the form of noun and verb, such as ancam, ancaman, and mengancam. And then I download the concordances with war and threat metaphors and analyze the source and target domains, as well as the social actors of the concordances in an Excel format. So far, this is the first step. So I inserted the concordance. I inserted the lemma iklim in the concordance, and then I find the collocation, and I would say I selected every collocate that refers to war and threat. This is the example of the findings of the collocations, and I just I just selected the metaphors such as the use of ancaman and mengancam. And then I go to the concordances of the collocates that I selected before, and this is the result. And I transfer the concordances in a Microsoft Excel format to identify the source domain, target domain, the social actors, social actor recategorization. So I recategorize the social actors because they belong to the same topics or category. For example, when the social actor is peneliti or researcher, and penelitian or research, I recategorize them into science. And then when the social actor refers to countries or world, I recategorize them into global. But this kind of analysis still needs verification and validation from my research members. And then after finding out the source and target domain and social actors, I also categorize the social actor representation using inclusion or exclusion strategy, and then provide the ecological interpretation, whether each concordance involved in the news articles is ecologically beneficial, destructive, or ambivalent. The assessment of the type of ecological discourse here is based on an ecological philosophy that I adopted in my research. And because the issue I focus on now here is the global issue about climate change, so I refer to deep ecology as the ecological philosophy to decide whether the discourse articulates a beneficial, ambivalent, or destructive discourse. And from the findings from my preliminary analysis, I can see that metaphors of war and threat are realized in both verbs and nouns in the source domain. And the social actors involved in the metaphors are variously presented, involving, for example, political figures, collective nations, and also research or researchers. Some other social actors are also in the form of environment. And I still need to investigate the analysis further to map the findings, so the analysis is not done yet. And I would like to ask Joyce here whether my steps are already correct or not, or is there any the best corpus-based analysis to investigate metaphor analysis. I also wonder whether my current analytical steps are correct, and in the future I need to enlarge the corpus from mass media in the global south. Probably I will start from the South Asian mass media, and however my current corpus is Indonesian, and I'm curious whether I can compare the corpus to other English corpora, because I do not understand, for example, Malay or the language from Thailand or any other South Asian countries. Okay, I think what I have to present is already finished. Thank you very much.
Hi, thank you so much, Rina, for that really great presentation. When I read your proposal, I was actually really interested and also sort of impressed by your methodological approach to your study, which seemed very systematic. So it seemed like you knew what you were doing. And I was really interested in how you were able to identify the metaphors through sort of your search around climate. So around this, I have sort of a main question. So why did you choose war and threat, and how are these terms related to climate?
Okay, so firstly, when I tried to find the topic, I read previous studies first, and I go to Scopus and I find articles related on climate change discourse and corpus discourse studies, and some of them discussed the war and threat metaphors, but they still focused on the discourse in the global north. So some of my model articles still talk about climate change in the global north, and I would like to know whether the discourse in the global south articulate the same strategy of representing the war and threat metaphors in mass media or not. I wonder whether my hypothesis is true or false. So we need to conduct research, even though the scope is still small. I still take the sample from Indonesian mass media, but at least it represents one of the global south countries.
Right. So your corpus isn't all global south. It includes other parts. Is that correct, or is it just global south?
My current corpus is from the Indonesian mass media, and my future plan, maybe for the next 3 or 5 years, I plan to analyze the discourse of climate change in the global south, probably from the Southeast Asian or from the other countries that have the English corpora from the news media. And of course, it will be a great project too if I have a chance. So this is still a preliminary work to identify whether war and threat metaphors are used similarly or different from the news media in the global north.
Right. Okay, great. And how big was the corpus?
the collected data is more than 700,000 words.
Okay, so now you searched for war and threat, is that correct?
Yeah, that is my data. I'm sorry, I think I misunderstood your question. So the total corpus contain of more than 700,000 words, but for the
Words.
war and threat metaphors, I can find 100 something. If I'm not mistaken, the concordance that I analyzed contain of 134 lines. So the frequency probably is still low frequency compared to the total corpus. So my hypothesis is that war and threat metaphors are not used more as frequent as the mass media in the global north, because when I read one of the papers in the global north, they find they find more concordances that contain of war and threat metaphors.
Right, okay. So I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So when you search for war and threat, so you search for metaphors that contain these words, correct?
Yes.
Would there be any possibility that you may have missed other related, metaphors that don't necessarily contain these words, or it contains synonyms of these words, right?
Yeah.
Did you consider that at all?
I haven't considered it. Okay, that's a good
Yeah.
point for me. Thank you.
Yeah, so I wonder because when you search for, specific terms, then what you run into is the problem of related metaphors that perhaps don't necessarily contain these words, right? So my suggestion is to perhaps do a search for synonyms around these words. You can do it on Sketch Engine. And from there, perhaps search around those terms to see if you can find more metaphors related to war and threat. And I mean, I don't know what the findings might be, right? You might sort of get different results based on that, right? You might see that they're equally important, or one occurs much more frequently. So yeah, I encourage you to sort of venture out a little bit, right? And see what you find. I mean, I guess that would mean a lot more work, right? Because you're working, 700,000 isn't a small corpus, right? However, I think it's also important to show that you've looked around these terms, right? Because you can't say much about war and threat and how that relates to climate change just by searching these two metaphors, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joyce. I think may I also find out the metaphors or the collocates of synonymous words of climate or related words of climate. For example, the warming, pemanasan, warming, global warming, and then energy, or any other synonymous words related to climate, because I still restricted to climate in my previous search.
Yeah, exactly. So
okay.
so yeah, so you can I mean you can conduct multiple searches, right? So synonyms around climate, synonyms around war, synonyms around threat, and then run it over and over and over again and see what sort of metaphors you get when you sort of look at it from a different angle. And see if you find more. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Nobody knows unless you do it, right? But yeah, I think it might be good to explore a little bit more with the corpus you have. If you have any questions about how to do this, I'm more than happy to help you out. So just give me a shout. Okay.
Thank you very much, Joyce. Your explanation is very clear for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think that's all the comment that I have for you. Do you have any other specific questions?
No, it's already answered.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you
so much for the presentation, Arena. How are we doing on time?
All right, thank you so much for the presentation, Arina, and also Joyce Lim for the feedback session. So maybe before we go to the next session, for the next participant, we would like to inform you guys for all of the participants, you guys can fill the attendance list form because our committee has already shared that. And also maybe we go to the next participant, which is Teresa, colleague from Universitas Indonesia. So maybe Teresa, are you here?
Yes.
Okay, sure.
Hear my voice?
You can, yeah, we can hear your voice. And you can share your screen.
Yes, thank you. Okay, please wait for a moment.
All right, we can see your screen now.
Okay,
Maybe
thank you.
you can start now.
Okay, and so good afternoon, Joyce, and also everyone. And thank you for the opportunity to present my proposal. So this is actually still a proposal, and I haven't done any preliminary studies yet. And so the title is Corpus-Based Approach to English and Japanese Vocabulary Acquisition of Indonesian Students, related to their writing strategies and individual differences. So basically for this study, I would like to do a contrastive analysis for both English and Japanese. And yeah, the background for my study is like why I choose English and also why I choose Japanese, because both of them are two of the most frequently formally taught foreign languages in Indonesia. Yeah, so we can find like Japanese education in Indonesian high school and also in universities. However, English and Japanese actually comes from different cultural background, and so they have their own distinctive grammar and also different technical vocabularies. And based on them, I would like to analyze the similarities and differences of the students' vocabulary acquisition in the two languages as depicted from their writing output. And to do this, actually, I would like to compile my own corpus from the students' writing assignments written in English and Japanese. And I'm still a total beginner in corpus linguistics, so based from this summer course from day 1 to day 5, I choose to use Sketch Engine. I didn't write about this in my proposal, and so I just decided. And I also decided to include a participant from beginner level learner. And for the writing assignments, the topic can be, but not limited to, hobbies, holidays, festivals, and maybe they may have any other topics they would like to do. And what do I need to develop my corpus research? Actually, it's about the analysis, because I'm still considering my study to be conducted quantitatively, but I'm still open to any other suggestions if I maybe qualitative or maybe mixed method would be preferable. So I'm still contemplating about my research method. I have 3 tentative research questions in this proposal. The first one, to what extent the learner's writing performance, learning strategies, and vocabulary use revealed through the corpus. To answer this question, I'm planning to discuss it through the descriptive statistics by using the data from the compiled corpus. And for the second question, and the third research questions, I would like to analyze it from the vocabulary test carried out twice per group. The first test or the pre-test will be conducted before the first class session, and the post-test will be conducted after the last class session. And for the vocabulary test, I'm considering the new vocabulary level test by McLean and Kramer in 2015 because they have both the Japanese version and also the English version. For my reference, I'm referring to Statistics in Corpus Linguistics written by Professor Vaclav Brezina in 2018. This book is very useful for me to know like maybe how to use quantitative analysis in analyzing corpus linguistics. And so yeah, this is my presentations, and I would really appreciate any feedback, especially on the possible analysis methodology, or maybe identify additional variables, or maybe any other comments or suggestions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Teresa, for sharing your presentation. I was very interested in your proposal again. They're all very interesting. But I particularly appreciated the rationale around Japanese and English being the most frequently taught foreign languages in Indonesia. So that was a really good sort of a background information to your study and the reason for why you're conducting this study. The contrastive analysis of students' vocabulary acquisition in 2 languages, as seen in their writing output, is new, right? Especially Japanese and English, right? And also it's relevant in your research context. So I thought that was really nice to see as well. There are a few things that I want you to consider when compiling a corpus. I know you mentioned that the students are going to be beginner levels, right? But the term beginner levels is subjective, right? So when you label students a beginner learner, you want to have some sort of a threshold, right? So maybe CFR level or some sort of an English level test initiated in your in Indonesia, for example. I don't know what that might be, but you will know. Just so that there's some consistency around how you frame beginner level. That's one of the most common sort of issues with a lot of corpus-based studies where they use terms like intermediate level, advanced level, beginner level, but we don't really know what level they're in, right? So I want you to be mindful of how you label proficiency level, especially because you're doing a contrastive analysis between English and Japanese, right? So when you say a beginner level in English, that should roughly be equivalent in beginner level Japanese, right? So I know that might be hard because they're two very different languages, right? And I assume that there's two different curriculum, right? But again, there needs to be some sort of a system in how you sort of frame beginner level in these two different levels, right? I like the idea of this pre and post test design in addition to the corpus. But you should also consider what is being taught to these students, right? So, you know, say for example, in the English class, right, the teacher focuses heavily on teaching vocabulary. Versus in the Japanese class, the teacher focuses more on spoken language, right? This could impact their uptake, right? So when you look at the writing difference by students who only learn, say, spoken language, might sort of struggle in their writing and vice versa, right? So again, not an easy way to compare two different languages, right? But you also want to make sure that there's some consistency in these two classes. Do you have any idea as to how you might go about doing that?
Oh, yes. Thank you for the suggestion. So actually for now, I'm considering like, for example, first year undergraduate student, because for example, like students majoring in Japanese, they also have to take a course in English, like basic English. So I'm planning to like include first year Japanese students and in the same class, but they also take the English course. So it's like I'm using exactly the same class, but for two data, like the English data and also the Japanese class from this exact same class. But I agree with your idea that maybe for them, Japanese is like a totally new language for them, but maybe not for English because right now, like we can learn English even from YouTube, even before we enrolling in undergraduate
It's a lot more
studies.
exposure, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, just something for you to consider and also to be mindful of, you know, when you do go into analysis. You talked about individual differences, right, in the proposal. I don't know if you're still looking into doing that, right? But if you're looking at individual differences, right, I wonder how you would be able to do that through the corpus, right? Unless you have a corpus for each individual participant, right? So can you elaborate a little bit more about how you might go about doing that?
Oh, yes. My concept of individual differences is actually based on gender. So, for example, female and male, and also like age. Like maybe some students they're actually older than the other one, although they are in the same year. But I'm wondering, can I edit the data? For example, if I download it from Sketch Engine in Excel format, and then maybe I add like a new variable named age, and then I can give like a code 1, 2, and then analyze it in SPSS, for example. Is it possible?
Yeah, you can certainly do it that way. But that's not individual difference, right? So gender difference is differences in gender, right? But again, you're gonna have to find a rationale for why you're looking at gender differences. Why do you believe that there is linguistic difference between male and female students, right? Age has more to do with development than individual differences, right? So when you look at, say, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade, right, we're looking at sort of a cross-sectional development, right? So what are students capable of producing at this grade level, first first grade, second grade, third grade, and so on, right? So I mean, the term individual difference has to do with the differences within individuals, right? So when you use that term, I was sort of imagining sort of tracing individual students across a certain time period. So perhaps what you're looking at isn't individual difference, but it might be some of the differences, right? So for example, gender difference or age difference, which again is development, right? So sort of stemming from individual difference and the kind of analysis that you were doing, I thought it might also be useful to accompany your findings with, say, interview data, for example, especially when you want to tap into the strategies, right? I think that's something that you mentioned in your proposal, that you want to understand the strategies that students use. That's hard to grasp from a corpus. You don't know what sort of strategies students use unless you sit and watch how they use it, right?
Yes.
So perhaps, you know, if you have a large sum of data, you're not going to be able to interview everybody, right? But you can maybe choose one or two students, or, you know, a small sample of students, and trace them, ask them, what did you do in this situation, and so forth. So that could be helpful if you're still interested in looking at the different strategies that students implement.
We'll consider that. Thank you.
Yeah, and then again, for the pre-post test design, you want to make sure that the exposure of the taught material between the two languages is identical, right? So you did mention that there are same classes, right? Same students, but just different languages. That's fine, but still, if there are two different teachers that teach in two very different ways, you can't compare the two. Is that clear? Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, sometimes they
Yeah,
have totally
so
different interests. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's hard to match 100% unless they're, I mean, there's even if they are the same teachers, if they're following a different curriculum, then it becomes pretty hard, right, to compare the two. But that's just something to keep in mind, to understand how the teachers teach their class for these two groups. Okay. How are we doing on time? Do we have time for questions, or are we out of time?
Maybe we have some time for only for one question actually, if there's any additional question.
All right, good. Yeah, cool. Teresa, I hope I addressed all of your questions, but if you have any further questions or comments or anything, feel free
Oh, yes.
to use this time. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So maybe I would like to know maybe any kind of reference for individual differences, because I would like to know more about that. Yeah.
References for individual differences. There are a lot of articles, especially for in second language acquisition, about individual differences and how you can go about measuring these differences. But in corpus-based studies, we're not necessarily interested in individual differences unless you compile a corpus for an individual across a long period of time, or, you know, a lot of data of individual participants, and then you compare sort of different patterns between the individual participants. But if you do search around individual differences in second language acquisition, you might be able to find a lot of information. If you can't, you can email me with some more details as to what you're interested in looking at about individual differences in your data. I'd be more than happy to pinpoint you to some resources.
Yes, thank you.
All right, no problem. Thank you so much again for sharing your proposal. I hope my feedback was helpful.
Yes, my pleasure.
All right, thank you very much, Teresa, for sharing your research plan with us. That was also another insightful session. Dr. Lim, we hope you're still excited to give feedback to the other participants. We will go on to the next one. Hi, Dian Noviani, are you here? Hello. You can open your mic.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh,
Oh. All right. So Dian, we we believe that you chose not to present. Do you want to share your proposal with us, or do you want to go into feedback right away? And also, can you please open your camera at the end so we can discuss better? Yes. Hello, Dian. If you're having trouble with your mic or your camera, please let us know through the chat box. Mhm. Or if you're still having some technical issues, we will go on to the next participant first. So we don't waste our time here. So Dian, please let us know if you have already fixed your issues. But first we will go on to the next participant, Dr. Lim, because it seems that Dian is having a little bit of trouble.
Sure, because so maybe we're going to go to the next participant, which is Sophie Yunianti. So Sophie Yunianti, are you here?
Yes.
Okay, sure.
Uh,
So maybe you
yeah.
can turn on your camera.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
sure. Thank you so
see you.
much.
May I present it because I have revised some in the methodology.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
oh, sure. You can also share the proposal to your screen. Maybe you can share
Okay.
your screen right now.
PPT or proposal in here? I
It's
also,
up to you actually. You
Okay.
can choose both.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, is that
Yes,
clear?
we
Yeah.
can see your screen right now. So maybe time is yours, Sophie.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Lim and Pak Ri and the Diponegoro Summer course. Actually, this is my plan for my dissertations. This is about the teaching instructions in inclusive school in Surabaya. So the language must be Indonesian, Japanese, and English because sometimes the student do not understand when in the English lesson, the student do not understand in Indonesian language. So the teacher switch it in Japanese. And the reason why I interested in this research because the problem of communications for inclusive school, especially with the student with pragmatic disorder, they do not understand completely about the sense of the word. Sometimes they do not understand the semantic prosody about the words, whether this is a negative sense or positive sense, or they do not understand the concrete objects. The word would not have concrete objects such as global warming, greenhouse, and then so because of this problem, so it is important to know the language pattern of the inclusive school. And one of the theory I use the word list, and is based on the Archer's theory. And I want the focus of my study is I want to find out the appropriate word list that used in the teaching inclusive school. So the student may know better about the words, about the vocabulary that the teacher. And in the corpus, I record the data in the classrooms, the conversation between teacher and student, and then I transcribe this. And then after that, I compile and I use the sketch engine programs. And then I try to find out the frequency word list. I try to find out the highest frequency, and then I try to find out the concordance. And if the highest frequency, the teacher will explain it again, such as global warming. The student do not know what is global warming in the reading text, so the teacher will explain it. The global warming is the greenhouse is, so this is must be the highest frequency. And then I try to find out the concordance because I want to know the context in here, in which part the student do not know. And then I make the vocabulary classifications with the subject types, and then I give the text to the students whether they know exactly about the word or not. And then the last step I classify this one is the difficult word and this one the easiest ones. And then actually I haven't done it yet because this is my plans. And then but I have done the preliminary research about I have record in the one sessions. The theme at that time is about the global warming, and then in here I find out that the highest one is global warming and the greenhouse, and what, because the teacher say what frequently say that what is the global warming again and again in order to make the student focus and understand what is the word means. And because this when I collect the highest frequency words, I expected to know which kind of word that is very appropriate to teach the students. And also I want to make kind of a dictionary for the students, inclusive students, because I ever find the OCHL adults, this is kind of the word list that it's on the word list for the kids based on their age, but I cannot find the word list that based on the inclusive the student with disability. That because in the example social cognitive disorder there is kind of state with kind of state that student understand better the word, and with one is that student do not understand better. So I can find the word list, and then it is very useful for to teach them. For the reference, usually I find the preliminary research in Drone Archer, the frequency word list, also done in academic spoken word list, and the applying corpus in conversational analysis. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sophie, for sharing that. It was really insightful. And what a nice surprise to hear from you. I thought, so based on your proposal, I thought the background of your study was really nice. And there is a clear gap in the need for your study. So you sort of laid out the current status of how autism is represented in Indonesia and the issues surrounding this, and also then leading to the need for the study. I just want to sort of, make sure that you clarify what social pragmatic disorder is in your research, defining these key terms. And the corpus idea I thought was really nice. However, I want you to think about what you would use the general word list for. So say that you have a frequency list of the words, the most frequently used words, right? How would that help students with pragmatic disorder?
Yeah. If I find out the highest frequency, it means that I can categorize which one is the most difficult one and what is the most difficult one. It is very usable for the one with a social pragmatic disorder. A social pragmatic disorder is kind of autism, which the student do not have ability to use the word based on the context because they do not the meaning. So based on the word list, I know how many, is it impossible if I want to know how many words that they understand and how many words that they do not understand. So so I make the list of the words that they do not understand. And in the word, this kind of word list, I know the pattern. In the first text of a social pragmatic disorder, this kind of word is useful for them to the difficult word is useful for them to teach it in the class if I can find it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you might want to think about, first of all, your corpus, whether or not that would actually help students with pragmatic disorder, right? And the word list on their own doesn't say a lot about the meaning of the words, right? So based on the word list, we know the say the top 20 most frequently used words, right? However, the meaning of those individual words might differ, right? So, you would then need to look at the concordance lines and then perhaps do a bit of a manual categorization of how these words are used differently in context, right? So again, it's not about learning more words, right? But more than that, it's about using these words in your own writing and speaking and so forth, right? So in that sense, just, a list of words isn't going to do much to the learners, right? So you might want to think about the how, right, beyond this list, and what you can do with this word list to help the students with pragmatics disorder. Okay.
Yeah, this is also
Yeah, and also you mentioned that students with pragmatics disorder lack the ability to communicate in different contexts, right?
Yes.
So I think this is a really good example of how providing them with a corpus, right? For them to be able to use it for their own learning is probably going to be a lot more powerful than just giving them the list of words, right? So teaching these learners how they can use the corpus to understand the meaning of these words used in the context is going to be more helpful for their learning than giving them, here's a list of the top 100 most frequently used words, because what do they do with it? Just memorize it, right? Whereas if you teach them how to navigate, say, through concordance lines, then they then know how to use these words in context through examples. So giving them more autonomy to become more responsible, and also to get that support that they need to help increase their uptake.
Wow, it's very clear. Thank you for your
suggestion. So yeah, I encourage you to explore how you might be able to build a corpus and then use it to help these students increase their learning experience. And then I have another quick question. So you talked about mixed methods, right? So for example, right, understanding experience and creating meaning based on experience. I wonder how that sort of aligns with a corpus. So how do you understand students' experience, and how do you create meaning based on their experience through just the corpus?
In my plan, I will give the student kind of a test, and then I give them kind of word, and I want to tell them about what is, for example, global warming. So tell me about the global warming, so I know about the words. It's based on the student experience, and also greenhouse. The student do not know much about greenhouse, so I will ask students to write down about the greenhouse. What is a greenhouse? Do you ever see? So it is based on their experience. Okay, if I do that kind of step.
Yeah. So along that line, that's a really good response to my follow-up question. I think it would be really important for you to keep track of the metadata, the data about the participants, right? So with these, with pragmatic disorder, right? I assume that it's sort of on a spectrum, right? We can't assume everything about the students based on, whether or not they have pragmatic disorder, for example, right? So being able to categorize your data based on, say, the topic of their writing choice, their age level or their age, grade level, the subject, right, could help to enhance your understanding of the students and their writing ability in different subjects, for example, different topics, for example, what sort of linguistic features are prevalent in different academic writing samples, for example. So if you have gathered 100 students, say with, pragmatics disorder, and had them all write different topics, I would assume that there might be some differences in all of their writing pieces, right?
Yeah.
And when you have one sample from each student, we can't say much about this one student, right? You need a lot of data to be able to say something about the entire group. So yeah, it's more of a food for thought question for you, right? Sort of circling back to what the corpus will be, right? What will it be of, right? What topics? And what it is that you're trying to use it for. That clear?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think we have a few minutes for questions. So do you have any questions for me, Sophie?
Yeah.
Or any sort of ambiguities? Yeah.
Yeah, it's students who have a pragmatic disorder. Usually, they have a different kind of level difficulty. Even they are in the same stage of pragmatic disorder. Sometimes this one do not know about the context of the word. Sometimes this one even do not know about the specific object, such as they do not differentiate, do not have ability to differentiate between duck and chicken, for example. So,
yeah, but that's not because of that disorder, right? We can't say that, students know this topic but not this topic, and that's because of the disorder. That's sort of a naive conclusion about the disorder, right? When you have a group of students with the same disorder, their knowledge level, right, or their ability to write about certain topics will be different, right? Because they know about different things up to a different extent, right? We can't say that they're all at the same level in terms of their knowledge and their capability, right? So you're right, that's a really good point, right? And that's exactly why you have to consider what this corpus is, right? It's not just gathering a sample of 100 writing samples from students with pragmatics disorder, right?
Thank you so much. This is very good.
No problem. But this is a really good approach, and I do appreciate your sort of initiative in tapping into understanding the sort of disorder through a large sample of writing from these individuals. So yeah, well done. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Sophie, for sharing your research plan with us in another insightful session, definitely. And we are actually about to go back to the previous participant, Dian, who is seemingly having trouble. But Dr. Lim, so far, Dian has not responded to us, unfortunately. But we see that she's still in the meeting. So would you like to still give the feedback for Dian, or we're also open to just open the session for any other participants who might want to actually share and present the research plan. What do you think, Dr. Lim?
So Dian is in the room, is that correct?
Yes, she is still
okay.
in
So just okay. So we'll look at the abstract together really quick, and I'll give a few sort of big feedback just so that everybody understands what the project was about. And then we'll move on to Q&A. Is that okay?
All right. Sorry. Yes, that is great.
Okay.
That is okay.
Great. Thank you. So Dian's proposal was on appraisal resources in disaster news reports. So this was the aim of this study. So I highlighted a few parts that I thought were important. So the aim of this study is to investigate the appraisal resources expressed in disaster discourse, particularly focusing on Indonesia earthquake events from online news articles. So it's a corpus of online news articles. Appraisal systems concerns with how speakers and writers use language to show their feelings and their relationship to listeners and readers, which consists of 3 interacting domains, namely attitude, engagement, and graduation. Understanding these patterns can provide insights about the news's tendency, whether emphasis whether it emphasizes on the disaster events or focuses on the reconstruction and rehabilitation after disaster events, instead of narrating the suffering and sorrowful victims, then report them in a positive collocation in lexical features. So my feedback, I'm just going to go over this really quickly. It's a really interesting study that investigates how language is used in mass media to express concerns around disaster discourse. Some things to consider is there were some interesting finds around negative terms such as homeless and damaged. I wonder if this is similar or different from what you had expected. And how you went about conducting this analysis. How did you go about filtering out these negative terms? Did you look at the frequency list? Did you search for certain terms and then conducted sort of a synonym analysis on that? The sentiment analysis, comparing or analyzing emotions is interesting. But I'm not quite sure how you went about initiating it. So there was a bit of an underdevelopment in that area. So I would be interested in hearing a little bit more about that. Something that you mentioned in your proposal is, by using corpus tools, I may effectively identify semantic and syntactic categories. Now, I mentioned this on our very first session, but the corpus is used to identify patterns of usage, right? So overused, underused, most frequent, least frequent words and phrases, right? So we can't really understand the complexities of syntax or semantic or syntactic complexities, right? So if you are interested in understanding the complexity of the language used in these articles, my suggestion is to download the entire text and then use different software for syntactic and semantic complexities. The proposal was quite brief, so this is all the comment that I have for DM. So for those of you who did follow along, thank you so much. I think for the rest of our time, I would appreciate Q&As from the participants. Thank you so much, everyone, for bearing with us and listening through our presenters. But if anyone has any questions about their own research that they didn't get to put on the Google Drive, I'd be more than happy to listen and give some feedback. Or if you have any general questions about corpus linguistics, I would be happy to address those as well.
All right. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Joyce Lim, for another insightful feedback. So everyone, if you guys have any questions or anything for Dr. Lim, please feel free to let us know in the chat box, or you can just open your mic, raise your hand or open your mic.
Yes, sure, because we still have for several times for this, so
Yeah.
we want you guys to ask similar questions if you may have like.
Yes. We still have some more time, everyone. Or if you would like to maybe briefly share about your research plan as well, because there were only selected participants.
I think
Mm,
That's a question, no?
we could only have like a few participants have their research plan presented because of the time constraints. But now that we have around just a few minutes left, if anyone else in the room would like to share briefly about the research plan or discuss further about maybe the research plan that has been presented before, then feel free, everyone.
Or if there's no questions, maybe for Dr. Joyce Lim, if you still have any kind of like additional, I think there's a question in the chat box.
Okay.
From Janaki.
All right, I can read it out loud.
Okay. All right.
I intend to develop an academic word list based on Bauer and Nation's 1993 Level 6 word family. However, most corpus linguistics analysis toolkit, for example, Sketch Engine, LangSbox, X, use lemma instead of word family as their basic word analysis form. The word analysis option gives in those toolkits is based on part of speech of words and not on word family. Word family includes a base word and its inflected and derived forms made with affixes. Would you please recommend ways to classify lemmatized words into word family categories? I focus on word family because my target group is advanced level students, and word family is the recommended unit of counting for advanced level students. Okay. So trying to grasp what the question is. I would say, so if you want to, instead of downloading everything and categorizing it your own, you can search for lemmas on Sketch Engine. You can also search for individual words. So if you're interested in getting a different frequency number for each of the lemmas, my suggestion is you can either search for each of the lemmas, or if you're interested in seeing the entire word family, so all the affixes, inflected, and derived forms, then you can search for lemma on Sketch Engine. So if you click on, say, concordance signs, for example, n-grams, and you search lemma and then the base form, so for example, the word go, and you search, it'll give you frequency for go, gone, going, and all the inflected forms, went, and so forth. So my suggestion is doing it that way. So searching for lemmas on Sketch Engine. And that way you get everything in the word family, if that's what you're interested in. Okay, thank you for that question. Any other questions? What would be your suggestion to a beginner student in the area of corpus linguistics? How can I find research topics as a beginner in this area? Okay, cool. So you're new to corpus linguistics, and you want to, or maybe you're not new to corpus linguistics, but you want to suggest, or you want some suggestions to beginner students in corpus linguistics. This is a really great question, right? So if you're a teacher, and if your students are just getting into corpus linguistics, how do you teach them to use it? How do you teach them about corpus linguistics? My suggestion is, first of all, to play around Sketch Engine with your students, show them the different functions, show them what they can do. I know when I first ran the first session, it was a lot of information. So for those of you who don't know what a corpus is and you're just getting into Sketch Engine, it's a lot of information to take in, right? So, try to navigate one by one. Sorry, yes, you are a final semester BS English student. Yes. So if you are a beginner in corpus linguistics and you're looking to expand your knowledge in sort of corpus linguistics, you can start by reading up on some articles published in the area of corpus linguistics. You can also look at some tutorials. So Sketch Engine has great tutorials online. So if you go to their website, sketchengine.eu, you will be able to search different functions and also videos to show you how to use it. You can also go to AntConc. Lawrence Anthony is the person who created AntConc. He has a really great YouTube channel where he describes the different functions of AntConc. You can watch that to familiarize yourself on how to use different software. And then if you are interested in working with your own data, then you can perhaps compile a small corpus and then use that to just explore different patterns of usage. So I don't know at what stage of, at what stage you're at in sort of understanding sort of the logistics of corpus linguistics. But if you are a true beginner and you have no idea where to start, please do email me. I'd be more than happy to give you some tips. Or if you're stuck and if you need some resources, I'm also more than happy to provide you with that. I hope that clarifies your question. And then another question, from the concordance analysis, is it just reporting and discussing the lines in relation to the features we are interested in? Or is there any statistical measures for concordance analysis result? Is it R statistic? Yeah, so you can run statistics for concordance analysis. So if you categorize, or you get the numbers, right? How many occurrences of certain words or phrases occur, you can certainly run statistical analysis. You don't need to. Again, whether or not you use it depends on your research question and what you try to get out of it, right? So there's no strict rule as to using statistics to support your findings from the concordance analysis. Again, it depends on what you need to know, right? So if you just need to know how many times this word or this phrase occurred, then you probably don't need statistical analysis. But if you want to see the correlation between certain words in the concordance, that would require some statistical analyses, which you can do on SPSS or other. There are a lot of different software that you can use that I won't have the time to go into. And then I'm researching lexical collocation patterns in academic publications written by native and non-native English-speaking writers. I have developed 2 corpora of the 2 types of writers. My question is, do I still need to compare both corpora that I have built to the existing reference corpus? This is a really good question. Okay, so the question is, you have one corpus of native speakers and another corpus of non-native speakers. You're comparing the 2. Do you still need a reference corpus? In theory, if your interest is only comparing the native speaker corpus or the non-native speaker corpus to the native speaker corpus that you've created, that's already your reference corpus, because you're comparing non-native speakers' use of the language to the native speakers' use of the language, right? But if you want to have a second reference corpus, that's absolutely fine. But assuming that your native speaker corpus that you've put together is already a sample that represents the population that you're interested in, I would probably say that the comparison of the 2 that you already have, the native speaker and non-native speaker, is enough. Let's see. Okay. Are there any other questions?
I believe there is another question from Intan Pradita, Dr. Lim. So this has not been responded to, I believe. She said, wait.
She has answered my question. I'm sorry.
Oh,
She answered
okay.
my question. Yeah, just now.
All right. All right. So all the questions have been responded to. And so we're actually at the end of our session for today's session. So yes. All right. I believe that is all our time for the session, unfortunately. Everyone, thank you very much for the participation. Okay, we're sorry. We are having missed.
We actually do still have more time.
Yeah, we still have more
But
time for
it
about
is
10
very
minutes.
short. Yes, it is very short, around 9 minutes. So if anyone still have like a brief question to Dr. Lim, then you may ask your question immediately. Just open your mic or through the chat box.
Or previously, we have already got several people that share their research plan. You Abdul Hakim and Christiana and also Almira. So for these people that we already mentioned the name, maybe if you
have any kind of like questions or maybe anything to discuss, feel free because we still have for about 8 minutes for now.
Yes, if any of those people, if you guys, I believe some are also still in the, in this room, in this meeting room. So if you want to maybe share briefly about your research plan and ask, just a few questions to Dr. Lim, you're very welcome to do that.
Yes.
Okay, here's a question. No, that's been answered. Okay, so if not, I'll keep talking until somebody else asks a question. So my sort of final takeaway message from all of this is that really the possibilities are limitless, right? What you can and can't do with corpus or corpora is really up to you, right? There are a lot of things that you can do, right? But one of the most powerful aspects of using corpora in your research is that we can make speculations about language, right? Oh, I think this word was most commonly used back then. Or I think people used to say these words a lot back in the day, right? But what we can do with a large corpora or a corpus is that you can actually find out using the data that you have what the most frequently used word was at different era. Or if you're interested in what are the most frequently used words by male students or female students in my university, then you can use the corpus to identify, to understand what those words might be, given that you have a corpus that represents male students and female students at your university. So really the hardest part is putting together the corpus, right? Making sure that the corpus that you create is representative of the population that you're interested in. So if you're interested in the student at your university, then you want to make sure that your sample represents different differences, right? So it could be gender differences, for example, or proficiency differences, etc., etc. Again, it depends on your research question, right? So questions like, do I need to have a reference corpus? Because I get that question a lot, right? Is it a must? If I don't have a reference corpus, does that mean my research is no good? Well, again, that depends on your research, right? So if your research requires you to understand how your learners are able to produce a language in comparison to the native speakers, then yes, of course you need a reference corpus because you need to link that comparison. However, if you're just interested in understanding how your learners perform at whatever level according to your corpus, then you don't need a reference corpus, right? So if you are, assuming that everyone in this room is interested in corpus linguistics or is conducting research that require you to put together a corpus of some sort, I encourage you to go back and check and recheck whether or not the corpus that you have is a good enough of a corpus for you to make conclusions, make some generalizations about the students, right? So a corpus or corpora are powerful in showing patterns using big data. In a sense, we can say a lot about the people and the country and the era and the context and so forth, given that you have put together a really good and strong corpus. Again, if you have any questions about putting together a corpus, or if you want some tips, some resources that you can use, always feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help out. But I just want to say thank you everyone for having me the last few days. I really enjoyed running these sessions. It was my first time. So thank you, Pri, for the invitation. I hope that everyone found these sessions to be useful.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Joyce Lim, for your amazing feedback and insights. Thank you for sharing with us. It's definitely helpful for all the participants. And all of the participants, thank you so much to you all too for you have already presented your excellent presentation. And the session was definitely fun and insightful, and we hope everyone enjoyed the session. And also, please note that we have distributed the attendance list for the session. So if you have not marked down your attendance, please do so. We will let the form open for a few more minutes.
Yes, thank you. Okay. So one more, thank you so much for Joyce Lim, and also thank you so much everyone for today's session. And now we're at the end of Dipscorling 2024. But before this agenda ends, we remind you to make sure to always check Dipscorling Google Drive folder, presentation files from all keynote speakers from day 1 until day 6, so a link to the recordings of the past session and this session, and as well as all relevant materials have been updated later. And also, we are processing your certificates. So once your certificates are ready, we will notify you through email. And there will be an available Dipscorling folder also.
Yes, and now we actually have a bit of closing remarks or closing speech from the head of English Department of Universitas Diponegoro, Dr. Aktifa Heri Chandra. We would like to invite you here to conclude Dipscorling. So, Dr. Aktifa Heri Chandra, hello, how are you, sir?
Hello, Azarin and Joyce. Hello, Joyce. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers and participants. I would like to take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all speakers, Joyce Lim, Nayar Curie, Gede Primadi Wijaya Rajat, and also Dr. Prihantoro, who have shared their insight and knowledge, and to every participant who has this dedicated 6 days to join us this enlightening experience. Your involvement has been invaluable. I hope that the material presented during the summer course have been engaging, easy to understand, and practical. Our goal was to ensure that you not only gain knowledge, but also feel equipped to apply what you have learned in your own context. Looking ahead, I'm excited to announce that next year in 2025, we'll be hosting a summer course once again, focusing on corpus linguistic with even more intriguing and advanced topics. We believe this will further enrich your understanding and appreciation of the field. Finally, let us not forget to express our sincere appreciation to the academic committee and also the Faculty of Humanities, Universitas Diponegoro. Your hard work and dedication have been instrumental in making the summer course in Corpus Linguistic 2024 a success. Once again, thank you very much for your participation, and then we look forward to seeing you next year. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Aktifa, for giving such a warm closing speech. And that concludes our summer course, and really appreciate your enthusiasm and also passion during this summer course. We hope that everyone get a lot of knowledge and also memorable experience in this summer course. And lastly, we have a special video actually to conclude our summer school in this year. So containing some recaps and also feedbacks from some lovely participants and also from our keynote speakers. So please take some time to watch the full video fully. So see you in this Dipscorling 2025, everyone. Bye.
Please enjoy the video.
The summer course was a blast, learning day and night.
Sudah.
Hi everyone, my name is Deborah Pakisiko. I am from Indonesia and I just finished my master's degree in English Language Study University Kebangsaan Malaysia. And currently I am working as an English teacher. And I knew about this summer course from my WhatsApp group, namely Malaysian Corpus Research Network. And I'm interested in joining the Dipscorling 2024 because I have such kind of attachment to corpus linguistic, and from this summer course, I can get more new insights and also new experiences related to corpus analysis. Especially, I have some knowledge about tool operation like using sketch engine and how to explore corpora, and I think those are very insightful, and I hope this kind of forum could be helpful in the future. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Hello, I am Muhammad Adil Khan from Pakistan, studying in the final semester of BS English at the Government Postgraduate College Guwahati, Sawabi. I discovered the Dipscorling 2024 summer course through a recommendation from my teacher and a colleague as well. I choose to participate because of its comprehensive curriculum and the chance to learn from the leading experts in corpus linguistics. My experience has been incredible, with highly informative lectures and practical sessions that allowed me to apply my learning in real time. The interactive format and engagement with participants from diverse backgrounds have enriched my learning experience, boosting my confidence and preparedness for my research and academic career. Thank you.
Hi, I am Fitrotul from Indonesia. Last year, I graduated from my MA in Discourse Studies at Lancaster University. A friend of mine informed me about this online summer course. Since one of my research interests is in corpus linguistics, I am very excited to join this course. Actually, I have learned corpus linguistics theories and tools during my master's degree, but I am not very familiar with Sketch Engine because I mainly use the QP Web and Conc. Therefore, this course has helped me develop new skills in corpus linguistics. I am looking forward to the next Dipscorling. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Budiko Pranoto. I'm from Indonesia. I'm going to move to UK this October to do PhD in linguistics at Lancaster University. I first learned about this summer course because I followed Pak Prihanto on Twitter, so I saw him posting about Dipscorling 2024. I'm interested in corpus linguistics as it can provide a more empirical findings and pattern in linguistic studies. I plan to apply this methodology in my PhD thesis later. Therefore, this course is an excellent program for me because I learned how to build corpora, do some queries techniques, and also use Sketch Engine features. These are skills and knowledges that will be useful for my academic pursuit. The topics delivered by outstanding speakers, Joyce, Nayo, and Gede Primahadi were great and motivating. They enlightened us about the real-world applications of corpus method and how to process linguistic data. Thank you, Universitas Diponegoro and Pak Prihantoro for hosting such insightful event. See you in Dipscorling 2025.
Hi, I'm Anna Fitriati. I am from Sanata Dharma University, Indonesia. Well, I got the information about Dipscorling summer course 2024 from my colleague in my department. I participate in the summer course because actually I'm new in corpus linguistics and I'm interested in doing a research on sociolinguistics, but I will use corpus data in this research. So I think joining this course will be very beneficial for me. Well, this summer course is inspiring and insightful. It's excellent.
Good morning. This is Yusraya Al-Hamshari, an associate professor of linguistics at the Manhoor University, Egypt, and Vice Dean for Faculty of Computer Science. I don't know, I want to thank you in general and give my deep, sincere thanks for Faculty of Humanities, Diponegoro University, for allowing me to attend such an amazing opportunity for the second time. As I attended with you last year, and it was my first experience to do corpus linguistics with you. Since I have my first experience with you, I started developing myself, and thank you very much for allowing me to have my first experience with you. And now you complete your message, and you are doing great job in representing such tool, Sketch Engine, this year. I would like to give my deep thanks for your effort, for your amazing organization, and the committee that is following up the meetings and giving all facilities for the attendees. The sessions you represented is very informative and
Okay, so my name is Fitrata Zakia. I'm from Surabaya, and right now I teach in Universitas Trunojoyo Madura. Okay, well, it is very interesting. I found the information about this program through several social media, yeah, especially the social media of Pak Rihantoro, yeah, through X or Twitter and also Facebook. Okay, so it is very interesting for me to know about what is corpus linguistic, as we know that corpus linguistic is new in linguistics. So when I joined this program, so of course I want to increase my knowledge about what is corpus linguistic and what is query and many others. Yeah, especially about using sketch engine. Yes, during this summer course, I'm really happy to know several materials from uh, the great lecturer from another country, so I can learn so many.
Hi everyone,
because
I'm Niall Curry from Ireland, but living in the UK and working at Manchester Metropolitan University. I've had a fantastic time at the Dipscorling 2024 Summer School, hearing about lots of different research in corpus linguistics, and sharing some of my own in my session on corpus query language, and through the summer school's special lecture focusing on corpus-assisted analysis of climate discourses. I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to the Dipscorling 2024 organising committee who've brought together such an excellent summer school, and to Dr. Brian Toro in particular for coordinating everything. If I were there in person, I would also applaud the participants at the summer school. You've made this a very exciting and engaging collection of talks, and I know in my own sessions your reflections on, questions on and applications of the things we discussed have been really impressive, so thank you very much for that. I'm already looking forward to the next Dipscorling, which I'm sure will continue to advance thinking in the field of corpus linguistics and perhaps get us thinking about ways to advance corpus linguistics on the Indonesian language and reflect on advances in AI for corpus linguistics research.
So networks have grown. Dipscorling 2024, how much we've all grown. Congratulations everyone on what you've achieved with new skills and wisdom. Our dreams are now conceived. Thanks everyone for participating along the way. See you at Dipscorling 2025. Come what may. Come what may. Thanks for the fun, the laughter and delight. Dipscorling 2024, you made our future bright. The summer course was a blast, learning day and night. Corpus linguistics gave us wings to take flight. We gained insights and friendships, our networks have grown. Dipscorling 2024, how much we've all grown. Congratulations everyone on what you've achieved with new skills and wisdom. Our dreams are now conceived. Thanks everyone for participating along the way. See you at Dipscorling 2025. Come what may. Thanks for the fun, the laughter and delight. Dipscorling 2024, you made our future bright. We gained insights and friendships, our networks have grown. Dipscorling 2024, how much we've all grown. Congratulations everyone on what you've achieved with new skills and wisdom. Our dreams are now conceived. Thanks
See you in
everyone for
Dipscorling
participating
2025.
along the way. See you at
You,
Dipscorling
everyone. Thank you for the
2025.
participation.
Come what may. Come what may.
See you all.
Thanks for the fun,
Bye bye.
the laughter,
Bye-bye. See you next year, everyone.
Goodbye.
Dipscorling 2024. You made our future bright.
Thank you, everyone. See you in Dipscorling 2025. Dah, oke.